Next topic on the pop roster, let's talk about Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
and this just horrible situation in this, the death of Halyna Hutchins on the set of the movie Rust. And it's just, it is a hot mess. It is so sad. It is so tragic.
Yes. So this
it breaks
week,
my heart.
Halayna Hutchins's family, so she left behind a husband and a young son, I think 8 or 9 years old. The family is suing the production company and Alec Baldwin for the death. And there are just all kinds of theories about what actually went on that day. Of course, Alec was holding the gun, and I don't think they were shooting a scene. Either they were rehearsing or he was just whatever. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he pulled the hammer back on the gun and it fired. And he actually said in an interview, "I did not pull the trigger." And people were like, "That's not possible. You must have pulled the trigger." But as it turns out, and I'd actually heard this quite a while ago, there are really old revolvers that will fire without pulling the trigger. You just kind of cock the hammer back halfway, and then if you release it without taking it all the way back, it'll fire. So Alec Baldwin did not have the gun. He did not have the gun acumen, and he did not have the knowledge to understand that about the revolver. But at the same time, probably expected, and I believe he did, that there were only dummy rounds in his gun. He did not expect that there would be live munition in his gun, but there was. So he allegedly cocked the hammer back halfway, then released it, didn't pull the trigger, but ultimately ended up shooting Halyna Hutchinson, and one other person was injured as well. And so the conspiracy here is like, well, how did the live rounds get into that gun? Why were there live rounds on the set of this production? But before,
there should never be live rounds. Not, if you're doing a scene out in the wild and you're going to use it, I could see, but it would be under lock and key until you're,
it should be,
going out to do it. But when it's just laying there and you have all these people in a room, how on earth I'm sorry, have a few dollars for some special effects, add it in later. I don't think there should be live ammunition in anything. And we've seen all too many times, I'm sorry, I'm going to go nuts, but too many times people are in these situations and they shoot people even with the blanks, because you can still get killed if you put a blank up to your head. I mean, we saw that way back in, I think, 82 or 83, John Eric Hexum he was a model that was doing a movie or something, and he was, playing Russian roulette and shot himself and killed himself on a blank. And I feel like, have a few dollars in your budget, use it as a special effect. Don't have anything in a gun.
Well,
sorry.
This is the conspiracy around it, because why was there live munition there? And the armorer, her name is Hannah Guttierez-Reed, claims that she checked it and it was only dummies that were in the box. And then she gave the firearm, and so she showed, I think, the assistant director that there were 6 dummy rounds in the gun, gives it to the assistant director. He takes it into the set, and something happens at that point, because she said she checked, those were dummy rounds. Somehow those live rounds got into the gun, and Alec Baldwin obviously shot Halyna Hutchinson. There were reports that there were staff or crew that were shooting live rounds, like target practice, just kind of having fun with the guns on the set, which some people deny or say, "Oh, I didn't know about that." But the armorer, I think, said that they were doing this. And the armorer also is claiming that there's sabotage here. I don't know if you know this. She's claiming that she actually got into an argument or a conflict with one of the members of crew. I think it was the assistant director. She didn't allow somebody to do something, and he got mad at her. They had a text exchange. She released these texts, and she's somewhat implying that she got set up. Now, I'm hoping that they didn't, I don't know what kind of setup that would be, that you would put in live rounds because of the potential of damage and death that could happen. But she's wondering if somebody set her up to take a fall for something. So it's kind of a big deal. And we don't know what happened exactly, but we do know, here's what I do know. Alec Baldwin should have had the requisite gun knowledge to know what that revolver was and to check that himself. And here's what I don't like about celebrities like Alec Baldwin and Liam Neeson and Matthew McConaughey, who are constantly going on these anti-gun tirades, yet showing up in all these films, firing guns, promoting gun culture, and making all kinds of money on the backs of guns. And yet you don't have the fundamental knowledge of how to fire a freaking gun. I have no respect for that. Plus, he is toxic celebrity. He's constantly on Twitter. He's super political and divisive. He's constantly just terrible to other people. But after this happens, he has an interview with George Stephanopoulos, and it's so produced. It's like a PR project.
Absolutely.
To just try and frame Alec Baldwin as this super emotional. It was so rehearsed and gross. So that's what Alec Baldwin is caring about, his image to me. That's what that signals to me. You care about your image and not necessarily getting down to what the heck happened and what can we do for Halayna Hutchinson and her family. You're worried about your image. And then he gets a warrant. I think it's Albuquerque or New Mexico issues a warrant for his phone, which he does not turn over. And then he gets on Instagram and he says to anybody who says, I'm not cooperating or turning over my phone, that's a lie. But in the same Instagram, he says, I can't do it yet because there's a lot that goes into, just turning over my phone. So are you cooperating? I think he ultimately turned over the phone. But are you cooperating?
No.
Do you really care about Halyna Hutchinson's family? And further, I know I'm going crazy, but I just want to give everybody the facts. Further, the whole crew, the camera crew on the Rust set was released. I think they either walked off or they were told to go home because they had been complaining about the safety standards on set, and they had to, I guess, commute like a half an hour or an hour away from set every single day, and they wanted to be placed closer so they could get there, make sure everything was okay. But apparently the standards for safety on the set were terrible, and the crew called it out. And the very next day, or the same day that they left, the crew left, this happened. And it's just tragic. And it's not about politics. It's not about Alec Baldwin, being an odious person on Twitter. But it is about who the heck put those live rounds in, and why doesn't Alec Baldwin know how to fire a gun? Because you're real tough, aren't you, online when you're talking about, gun control, and you're real tough with all of your political takes, but you're the one who had a gun in your hand. You're the one who should have checked those rounds. You're the one who should know that old revolver can fire. But far be it from you, I guess, to actually learn a little something. But why was
he even holding the gun? Why was he even playing with it?
I don't know. I mean, I think it wasn't a scene, so I think he was practicing, or I think he was just demonstrating what he was going to do, rehearsing. I don't really know.
Well, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been on a movie set, but I feel like if I was going to do that, I would probably go outside, because I even know that even dummy blanks can cause injury and or death. So I would not even feel comfortable touching that gun in that scene when there are other people in the room, or on that set rather. I would go outside if I wanted to practice handling it, getting comfortable holding it, that sort of thing. And I would only use that gun in that moment on that scene. And I think I would be the one who would demand them not having anything in there and you add a special effect in later. Because I wouldn't feel, I'm not a big gun person, but that's just me. I mean, anyone that has it, I have no problem.
I'm just talking about the hypocrisy of it. The hypocrisy of it.
It is. And I mean, in the beginning, he was blaming everyone and their mother but himself, not even taking any kind of accountability. And I understand you don't want to cover it out and say, yeah, I did it, because something's happening. You have to be careful what you say. And I'm sure his lawyers told him to shut up, but then don't even talk about it. Mm-hmm. Issue a statement. I am horrified by the events that took place. You please know that, everybody is working together to find out what happened and whatever, but you can issue a generic statement and still offer your condolences and how horrible this is. But he didn't even do that. Well, he's an example, too, of toxic masculinity as well.
God, yes.
I mean, the way he treats anybody in his life, especially the women. I mean, his own daughter called her a pig on Twitter, I think it was.
He left it in a voicemail message. And
oh, that's right. That's
Kim
right.
Basinger played it.
That's right. Good for her.
Go get it, Kim. No, but here's the thing that, I don't think he would ever have done it on purpose. I don't think he murdered Halyna Hutchinson.
No.
I think that I wonder about his competence and whether he was negligent, and I would have done things a lot differently. But it's this whole, like, how you show up in the world and then how you make your money. Like, the disconnect is telling everybody what to do and what they should believe in and how they should vote. But then when you're making your money, you're using guns and you're doing all of these things. And I know you're playing a role and I get it, but there's just something so hypocritical about this, and celebrities in general. I am so sick of celebrities, like the Super Bowl. Like, they've got all of these shots of the celebrities. Everybody, like, so many people in the Super Bowl are masked. And in that stadium, the rule was you wear your mask. You only take it off to take your drink or eat your food, put your mask back on. So everybody that's the normies in the crowd have to comply. But then you get these sweeping shots in the boxes where all the celebrities are. Nobody's wearing masks.
Yeah.
Nobody's following through. And yet they're up on Twitter, they're up on their Instagram, all about vaccinations and wear your mask and take care. But it's so hypocritical to me. And I'm not even having a conversation about whether masks are good or bad, vaccines or anything. I don't care to have that conversation. It's just the
it's
absolute
a double standard.
Superficial veneer of these
Yes.
people. I don't want to hear your political hot takes. I don't care about how you vote. Just act in your movie or act on your show and be an actor. They want to influence. Not you. You know who I want to influence me? Gandhi, Paramahansa Yogananda. Those are the types of consciousness that I would love to have influence the world. Not Alec Baldwin. Okay. So that's my rant for today. But to me, I think Hannah Guttierez is also suing the prop company who put live rounds in a dummy box. Either they did that or somebody put live rounds in to sabotage something. Like, that's where the questions really are.
That is what freaks me out, because when you hear about the toxic behavior on the set, let alone the unsafe conditions that they were all working in, and could it be that these people were also commuting so long, they were working long hours, were they tired? Did they inadvertently mix up a box of live rounds with dummy round? Who knows? But I feel like just me, but there's a little piece of me that feels like someone did a little switcheroo, and it feels kind of icky.
They might have done a switcheroo and didn't expect that live round to get into a gun. Maybe they expected somebody to check the rounds and see a live round and then have her fired. I could see something like that.
Yeah.
But they didn't expect that it would go into the gun and that he would be pointing it for some reason at Halyna Hutchinson. But he did, and it went off.
And why you're even pointing at her in the first place is beyond me. That's a whole other issue. But I could just see him almost showing off and being like a jerk. Right.
We can see Alec Baldwin being an arrogant jerk.
And because of all of this, a woman has lost her life. A family has lost their wife and mother, and many people, their entire families now are completely disrupted in this life because of negligence.
Yeah. And it's sad.
It is very sad.
It makes me mad. I'm in Texas, okay? We have a gun culture here. My husband owns guns. I don't touch guns. I don't like guns, but I grew up with a dad. I shot cans. I grew up with guns. So I'm familiar with them. I'm comfortable with them. I would never be caught dead not familiarizing myself with a weapon and knowing how it works and what's in those chambers. That's just gun 101. So